brother has been murdered on the job.
He was such a kind man, like thoughtful, and he was always concerned about our safety.
On January 10th, the Seattle community paid tribute to the Metro bus driver killed while on the job. Shawn Yim had been a Metro bus driver since 2015. His colleagues and passengers described him as kind and always smiling. On December 18th, Richard Sitzlak allegedly stabbed him to death. Sitzlak was arrested just days later. I'm King 5 reporter Drew Andre. Join us as we reflect on the life of Shawn Yim through the community here in downtown Seattle.
Well, I came here because my first job in Seattle was working for Metro, when I heard this happened, this was a good chance for me to come down and honor this man. It's a shame that they have to be treated, so badly on the buses, and hopefully this raises awareness. Makes.
What did it mean to you to be able to see all the buses and the turnout?
As a person, it was, and a former employee, it was. Great to see everybody, stick up for this guy. It shows how much they really care. It's a real brotherhood.
How did you feel when you first heard the news about the driver, about Shawn Yim?
I was, we're getting numb to all the violence. I mean, I'm afraid it was a sad day, but it's, the next day there was something else happened, I think. So it hurts to see them so vulnerable, and whether, all they have is, protection against germs and not against people, beating them up, and that's what they really need.
What do you hope comes out of all of this?
Well, that the money gets put in the right place to, make a barrier that keeps the men safe, and that they have, more security things. I don't know what they have for cameras or, up-to-date alert systems so that people can get more, be more afraid to go do this type of stuff and more preventative things.
A brother has been murdered on the job, and no transit operator should have to worry about losing their life driving a bus. So we're here to remember him. We never knew him, but he's a colleague anyway. He was a family man. He had a wife. He had a child. It's a job. Nobody should lose a life at their job.
Hundreds attend Shawn Yim's memorial here at Lumen Field Events Center. We bring you the full service. That's coming up next.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Latrell Gibson, and I have the honor of serving as the recording secretary for ATU Local 587. I will be the MC for today's memorial, and I also want to thank each and every one of you for being here, whether in person or tuning in virtually. Happy that you're here to show your solidarity during this difficult time. Before we begin, I would like to take a moment to reflect on my positive interactions with Shawn Yim. First and foremost, my deepest condolences go out to Shawn's family. Please know your family is in my thoughts and prayers, and you are not alone. You're not alone in your grief. Shawn was more than just a colleague. He was a friend. I will forever cherish the memories of crossing paths with him. Every time we would meet, he'd greet me with his signature, "Hey Latrell, how's everything going at the union office?" And of course, I jokingly reply, "Well, if you showed up to a couple of meetings, you would know." And so he would always get a good laugh from that response, and I would continue to tell him everything was going great. It's a lot of work, but it's ongoing. Shawn was a very kind person who can brighten your day with just a simple greeting. I will miss seeing him driving his bus, always wearing his vest, waving at all the other operators on the road. His embodied spirit, he embodied the spirit of the community in which he served. He was a true joy to work alongside. Shawn's presence will be deeply missed, and his memory will forever hold a special place in my heart. Now, without further ado, I'd like to announce our first speaker for today's memorial service, ATU 587 President Greg Woodfield.
Welcome, everyone. I apologize, I'm going to have to read off a script or I'm not going to make it through this. Could everyone please stand for a full moment of silence? Thank you. Please be seated. I want to start off by giving my heartfelt condolences to the family. Thank you all for joining us here today in remembering, honoring, and paying respect to our beloved brother, Shawn Yim. Thank you to Mike Flood and the Seattle Seahawks organization for providing us with a venue to do so. I want to start off recognizing all of our ATU family here today, including International President John Costa, International VP Yvette Trujillo. We have a couple of our former presidents, I think, up here, Mike Shea and Barry, help me out, Barry Salmon. For anyone that doesn't know, Barry Salmon knows what it's like for me to be up here today because he was doing this when Mark McLaughlin was murdered 26 years ago. I also want to thank all the visiting presidents and GMs, elected officials, Metro and Sound Transit leadership, and the public for showing up to pay their respects to our brother Shawn. The family asked us to share the following message with you. Shawn was many things to many people. He was a loving husband. He was beloved Uncle Shawn to numerous children. And Shawn was a Metro bus operator, dedicated to the riders in the city of Seattle where he grew up. Shawn's most recent commendation described him as someone who went above and beyond for those in the community he served. The person who made the last accommodation wrote, "The driver on the bus advised school kids not to run and said he would wait for them. He made sure all the kids caught the bus." These heartwarming comments reminded our family how when Shawn was a boy, he used to ride a Seattle Metro bus that ran the same route as the number 70. He often took it to downtown Seattle Library. During the holidays, he rode the bus to play with toy trains in the window of the then Bon Marché. Shawn was a son of this city, having attended McClure Junior High School, Garfield, and Foster High Schools, and ultimately earned his BA at WSU. He was taken from us while performing his duty as a servant of this city. We will always remember Shawn for his warmth, kindness, and most of all, his smile, which brightened every day and every occasion. We thank you all for remembering Shawn today. I'd like to add that Shawn's family deeply cares about his union family, too. They've intentionally chosen to lay him to rest at Lakeview Cemetery, mere feet from the Route 10 terminal. I had the privilege of being Shawn's coach practice instructor, but didn't get to work with him much after that. I didn't know Shawn well, but I know him better now through visiting Central Base in the days after his senseless murder. I know how greatly he was loved and appreciated by his peers. I know now that he was a fixture at Central Base. I know he's left a gaping hole for so many that can't be filled. And I know that this union, Shawn's union, will never let his memory fade, never let his sacrifice go in vain. Thank you. 26 years ago, this local met like this to mourn the murder of brother Mark McLaughlin. Many of our union's demands for change back then were largely left unmet. So here we are again, on a day that we all knew was coming. Left heartbroken, fearful, angry, distrustful, and anxious. Our demands for safety after this painful tragedy must be met in this year. We won't wait again for another 26 years or for another murder. We have a public safety problem, not a transit problem. We see those who can't afford housing, those who don't get proper treatment for mental illness or drug and alcohol abuse, those who commit criminal activity. We see these in every city that we serve. Those issues inevitably spill into our transit system. Our members face the threat of assault daily. Far too often they're slapped, punched, kicked, spit on, pepper sprayed, and overcome with fentanyl and other drug exposure. They see weapons brandished, and they have their lives threatened. Shawn recognized and spoke of how things were getting worse. Tragically, transit workers feel that their cries for help have mostly fell on deaf ears until now. The public has always supported us. We desperately need the public's help now more than ever. Please contact your elected officials and demand that they take action to restore order and safety on public transit. Our union can't be the only ones fighting for passenger safety. We feel we've been fighting this battle alone. Our members are routinely held accountable for safety. Our frontline transit workers shouldn't be the only ones held accountable, though. Elected city, county, state, and federal officials, metro, rail, and streetcar management must all work harder and collectively on improving public and transit safety. Everyone's lack of action contributed to us being here today. Rest in peace, Brother Shawn Yim. Your union family will forever love and honor you. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg, for that heartfelt and wonderful speech. Thank you. I would like to present our next speaker, ATU International President John A. Costa.
I'm going to ask Yvette Trujillo, our Executive International Vice President, to join me here. She's not on a list. My condolences to Shawn's family, my condolences to the local, my condolences to the community. I drove here on the bus, and I was really heartfelt of the community that was out there. I want to thank all the politicians in the room, all the passengers in the room, the community in the room, but most of all, the ATU is in the room. ATU in the house? Who moves this city? Who moves this city? And not one more of us should be attacked or treated like we're being treated. Not one more. This is not my first rodeo, and unfortunately I know it's not going to be my last until we do something about it, and until those that speak here are going to tell you, you know, all the great things, and I appreciate that, but we need to pull together and stop this. This is a tragedy that should not have happened. Shawn should have been home for the holidays, just like all of us were home for the holidays. And the agency's got to stop the bull and get together and put pressure on the politicians. We need to change the way the industry looks at these buses. Unfortunately, it's not 30 years ago. We're not Jackie Gleason out here no more. We need protection. You get on a bus, you can treat and operate any way you want. I sat in your garage today. I talked to my members. I talked to the females and said, what are we going to do about this? So we can't let Shawn's name be forgotten. Say his name. Shawn Yim. Say his name. Say his name. That's right. He did a job. Came home to make a living, a good living, to go home to his family. You should not come to work and die. You should not be worried about coming and doing this job to the community that we serve. I didn't know how I was going to be about this, but I'm tired of it. Every day I hear the same thing. So those in the room that want to make change, those in the room that want to, represent your communities, those in the room that ask us to vote for you and your support, all right? Please work and do something about this. Don't sweep it under the rug. Don't, right? This could be changed. You get on a plane and you look at a stewardess the wrong way, you're banned to get back on that if she don't like it. No matter if you're guilty or not. I want them off the bus, right? No, we got to do this, we got to do that. I want them off the plane. You're arrested out, and matter of fact, you can't fly again. But over here, so let's not sweep it on the rug. And for the family of Shawn, I am sorry, I'm a little aggravated, but this is a tragedy that shouldn't happen, and I feel for you. So, like I said, we need to redesign the buses. Let's not forget Shawn. My condolences to the family, to the ATU in the house. Thank you for coming. All over we have presidents, as Greg said, to the officers in Greg that had to deal with this as a new president, and Seattle, the community of Seattle, the agency for giving us the time to be here today, and the beautiful procession that you put on out there. Thank you, and I'll end it like that. But not one more should be attacked. So let's do the right thing. And to the family, once again, my deepest condolences.
Thank you, John Costa, and thank you, Yvette, for speaking on behalf of all of us transit operators and workers. Thank you. I would like to call to the podium Mitch Spencer, who will be reading a poem for you. What are you reading? I would just like to bring to you Mitch Spencer. Thank you. Sorry. It says memories like it says forever.
Okay. Wow. I think Shawn would be overwhelmed and humbled by the turnout. I met Shawn in 2015 as a part-time operator. Shawn stood out from everybody because Shawn wore his distinctive orange vest back in the day. This was back when nobody wore a safety vest. He had his on all the time. And it was really easy to pick out of a crowd. And I know those of you that know him know exactly what I mean with the orange vest. We had went to full-time class together. And those of you that have been through the full-time training class know that you build bonds and relationships and friendships in those classes. And when Shawn and I began to talk, we realized we were both business owners, working full-time, and also working at Metro part-time. And we were looking to get into something more steady. I made a lot of good friends in that full-time class, and I was just reflecting on that today. I also met Lucinda in that class, who I'm still with today. After we both had started working full-time, we would share stories like many of you other operators, happy, sad, tragic, and that again builds that bond and relationship. We come up to our first pick, which came just weeks after we began full-time. To tell you how it works, if you don't know, there's basically 2,000 pieces of work and 2,000 operators, and you pick that work in seniority. Our class was the bottom 10, so we got the worst of the worst work. Shawn was about middle of that 5 or 6, and I was second from the bottom. We went into the room with that work to pick, and Shawn took to the very last minute to finally pick his work. That would be the last time Shawn would ever pick ahead of me, because after that, every pick we had, Shawn would enter the room and just couldn't make up his mind. He would spend 20, 30, 40 minutes trying to pick his work. And eventually the supervisors in charge just gave up and said, go around him and pick around him. There was a time that he came and he had a stack of paperwork and he was analyzing it, and he was going over it, and he was assuring us as we waited in the waiting area that this was the time he was going to finally pick his work. When I went into the pick room, Shawn was up on the board looking at the work. He'd already been in there 20 minutes and still couldn't make up his mind. Inevitably, when we got outside comparing our work, Shawn would be jealous of everybody and say he picked wrong, and it happened every time. There was a time when Shawn came in and he wondered if we all knew something he didn't. And again, he was in there way past his time, and he came over to me and he's nudging my shoulder and he's pushing me aside and he's trying to see what I'm looking at. Do I have some inside information that he doesn't? I never did, but he never did pick his work ahead of me, just that very first time, even though he was 4 or 5 spots behind me in seniority. When we went full time, as you can guess, we were all working night owls. Very difficult work. We would come back and share stories, again, of some funny, some sad, some exciting, and some tragic.
There was a time when I had a passenger who built a cardboard fort in the back of the bus, and it was a significant fort, just in the time we went from one end to the other. And I told the story in the bullpen after we'd already got back from our work. And all of a sudden, everybody just started laughing, including Shawn, and we couldn't stop laughing. And there wasn't at the person, it wasn't at what they were doing, it was just how absurd this job can be sometimes. And just crazy. There is no answer to any of this. And we kind of knew this was going to be our future. There was another time where a passenger had overdosed on my bus. And at that time, it bothered me a lot. She screamed in terror. And that scream stuck with me. And when I told that story, Shawn was there, and we didn't have any time to keep talking. And Shawn had called me later that night and asked if I was okay. And I assured him that I was okay, but I could still hear those screams today. Shawn and I eventually developed a friendship that HR would probably cringe at, because we shared insults and things that only good friends are able to do. And it was a lot of fun, and I wouldn't have had it any other way, because we were honest with each other and said what we wanted to say. There was one day I was driving the Route 10, and I came down into downtown Seattle, and I pulled over, and for whatever reason I had to pull my poles down, and I got out. Shawn was walking down the sidewalk. It was his day off, and he was with his then girlfriend, and he introduced me. After that day, Shawn and I, back and forth, would ask each other, "Are you married yet? Are you married yet?" He would ask me, and I would ask him. And then one day, Shawn said, "Yes, I am. And we're buying a house." I never seen Shawn so happy. He worked very, very hard to keep that going. I know he loved his wife and he loved his life. And I know initially he tried doing the commute. It's a long commute, a ferry ride and driving. It was just too much, so he stayed at the base during the work week. He would sleep in his car, and he would put his shoes outside the door so you knew that he was in there, and it was like a do not disturb sign. You'd find him in our base sleeping or eating or watching TV or watching a game on his cell phone. All the time. We also had a group chat that we had. There was 5 or 6 of us in it. And every holiday, Shawn would be the first to text, "Happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas," or "Happy New Year." This year, that text didn't come. But my phone was laying on the table, and somebody else in our group sent that message out. Right now, I'm a new first-line supervisor. I'm working in base operations, and during the week of Christmas, I was doing the planning for both Central and Atlantic bases. It's an overwhelming task. But what made it really hard for me was I seen Shawn's name in the day off book. He was in the guarantee to have Christmas Eve off. And I did what I was supposed to do. I took a red pen and I put a line through his name and my initials after it. an RIP. And that's all I have. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mitch, for that wonderful speech. I would like to call next, U.S. Representative Pramila Jayapal to the podium.
Good afternoon. I want to thank, first of all, President Greg Woodfill of ATU 587, Vice President Ken Price, and International ATU President John Costa, and all of our ATU brothers, sisters, and siblings for being here today to honor the memory of the great Shawn Yim. I want to extend my deepest condolences to the family, to the friends, to all of you as colleagues of Shawn Yim, who was a beloved member of our community. As I've read the many tributes, and I went through and read all of the ones that I could find online, talked to the family, I see how beloved Shawn was for taking care of kids, for taking care of the elderly that came onto his bus, for his care of all of the passengers and his colleagues, for the deeply caring person that he was all the time, as described by his high school friends and his work colleagues. As his loved ones described to me, he literally took the coat off his back to give it to somebody who needed it. That is the beautiful person that Shawn Yim was all the time. Shawn Yim died simply for doing his job, a job that is the essential center of so many people being able to do their jobs, to be able to get to work, to get to a doctor's appointment, to get young people home from school. So today, we gather to say collectively that Shawn's death was unacceptable, and to come together as a community. Unacceptable. And to come together as a community to honor his memory and support each other in the healing process. We also gather to express our deep commitment to ensuring that this never happens again. From everything that I have read, I believe that Shawn would want his death to at least result in ensuring that no other transit worker faces this again, that we come together to ensure that we make the changes necessary to protect all other frontline workers who are grieving for Shawn today and afraid for your own safety in the wake of this horrific tragedy. So let us honor Shawn today by making the promise that we will collectively do our part in making sure that we do what it takes to keep transit workers across King County, indeed across the nation, safe. Shawn Yim's death shows that our community clearly has to deal with the worst result of the violence that both bus drivers and passengers face on buses, at bus stops, and in transit centers. And while Shawn's death was the worst result of violence, this was not, as you have heard, an isolated incident, and we have to take every precaution to address the fact that routinely transit workers face that routine harassment and assault. They are also too often expected to take on responsibilities far beyond their job descriptions. Instead of simply doing their job and focusing on safety, getting passengers from point A to point B, they end up having to step into the roles of breaking up fights for being social workers, law enforcement, or public health officers. Now, I've spoken to a lot of ATU members. In fact, I was just speaking to someone backstage. Our transit workers are doing this because they know it is a public service and they deeply care. They love, actually, these jobs of being able to take people and transport them safely, getting to know people on their routes. And they have done this because they care about us, about the rest of the public. But they cannot continue to care about us if we don't show them that we care about them. I know that ATU's calls for further protections have resulted in some change, but it is very clear that more is necessary. And I also know that my colleagues at the city, at the county, at the state, and certainly at the federal level are taking this issue very seriously and will do what we need to do, whether it is the redesign of buses, the complete redesign of buses, or whether it is the rules about who gets to engage and be on public buses. Those are the things that we need to take seriously. Because at the end of the day, we need to make sure that every worker feels safe on the job and knows that they can return home at night to their family and their community that love them and that they love. So let us use this moment to implement real, meaningful solutions that ensure the safety of transit workers, bus drivers, riders, and our entire community. In recent years, there are lessons we can take from cities like New York and Los Angeles, as well as other transit agencies across the country that are facing some of the same issues and have begun to invest in the enhanced safety equipment, including fully enclosed operator compartments that provide physical barriers between operators and the public. That simple upgrade can clearly be a matter of life and death. And I know that the leaders of our city, our county, our state, and at the federal level want to make sure that Seattle and King County is the place that invests in these straightforward solutions so that we can save lives like Shawn Yim's. I am deeply grateful for the ongoing efforts of ATU. While one death is too many, your ongoing advocacy on this specific issue and so many other safety initiatives will help to make sure that a tragedy like this does not happen again. And that action alone will be one of the most meaningful ways to honor the senseless and horrific murder of Shawn Yim, a true public servant, a person who gave his life literally to taking care of others. So let us act in Shawn's memory. Let us utilize our collective grief and mourning to make the changes that would have prevented Shawn's death so that others can live. And to Shawn, we will never, never forget you, your sacrifices, or the beautiful human that you were. Rest in power and rest in peace. Thank you.
All right, I would like to, unfortunately, the next person on our program, she is not able to make it. She is the U.S. Senate President pro tempore, Patty Murray. However, we do have Shayna Deitch here making a statement on her behalf. Shayna.
Dear friends, thank you for the invitation, and I regret that I cannot be with you today as you gather to mourn and remember Shawn Yim. To his family, friends, and union brothers and sisters, my heart is with all of you. We often take for granted the simple things we do in life, such as taking the bus to work or to see family. We don't always take the time to thank or honor the dedicated public servants who take us safely from place to place, but we must. Shawn Yim was one of those public servants. He joyfully greeted and interacted with passengers every day for a decade, some for the first time, some who were regulars. He took them to their destinations and did his job with kindness and respect. He cared deeply about the safety of his passengers. There is no way to make sense of this tragic act. Shawn was taken from us, and this has impacted all of us in such a profound way. Drivers deserve to go home as safely as they take their passengers to their destinations. Shawn deserved to go home. For everyone who rode Shawn's bus and had the opportunity to receive a friendly hello, see his big smile, or hear one of his classic jokes, this is a loss. It is also a loss for our community, which has seen so much tragedy as of late. But we can all be grateful for the time we had with Shawn and the contributions he made. As you try to cope during this difficult time, please know that Shawn made a difference. He made a difference in the lives of his passengers and in this community, and that we will never forget. Sincerely, Patty Murray.
All right, so I would like to announce our next speaker, or actually vocalist, Shaye Howell, who is also a Metro Transit operator. She will be our vocalist for this piece that's coming up next. Shaye?
To the friends and family of our fallen friend and loved one, let these words enter your hearts. Let your pain and your sorrow flow, and know you're not alone. We are all united here to celebrate our loved one, our friend. This is for you. When the rain is blowing in your face and the whole world is on your case, I could offer you this warm embrace to make you feel my love. When the evening shadows and the stars appear, but there is no one there to dry your tears, wish I can hold you for a million years and hope you feel my love. I know you haven't quite healed just yet, but I hope it's not too cold. I've known it from the moment that we met. No doubt in my mind where you belong. I'd go hungry, I'd go black and blue. I'd go marching down this avenue. No, there's nothing that I wouldn't do to make you feel my love. Ooh, I know there's trouble all around, but like a bridge over troubled water, I'm gonna lay my love down because the storms are raging on this rolling sea and on this highway of regret. The winds of change are blowing wild and free, but you ain't seen nothing like us yet. I wish that you're happy and your dreams come true. No, there's nothing that I wouldn't do. I'll go to the ends of the earth for you to make you feel my love, to make you feel my love.
Wow, thank you, Shaye. That was beautiful. Another round of applause for Shaye, please. Yes. So our next speaker is King County Metro Transit's General Manager, Michelle Allison. Michelle?
That was amazing. December 18th, we lost operator Shawn Yim. It was one of the worst mornings, the worst days in Metro history. I was there that terrible early morning for hours that felt like years. And like you, I am here today because we want to do right by Shawn Yim. And I want to do right by you. Our Metro operators, our first-line supervisors, everyone who is part of this organization. We're brought together by service, by purpose, and by community. Thank you so much for sharing your memories of Shawn with us so we can keep him alive in ours. Shawn's colleagues described Shawn as an extraordinary person, a friend, a great man, a mentor, a person of high moral values who believed in right and wrong. One colleague shared that, quote, "Though Shawn had a tough exterior, once you earned his trust, you gained a friend for life. He was dependable with a sharp sense of humor and a laid-back attitude that made him a joy to be around. His love for fishing and the outdoors was a reflection of his deep connection to nature and his appreciation for a life well lived." Another spoke to Shawn reaching out to a newer bus operator. Quote, Shawn instilled hope, guidance, and wisdom for their futures. What an incredible gift. A third colleague was taking care of an older relative and said that Shawn made a point of letting him know just how important and what a big deal that was for Shawn's culture. You all remembered Shawn's calm nature, his sense of humor, his always taking the time to stop and talk. You also all shared how much you're going to miss Shawn. And I do think that Shawn would have been so proud of you all these last 3 weeks. He would have seen your kindness, your professionalism, and your love. I know this because I saw firsthand your support for one another that awful morning. And I've seen it every day since. I've also had the privilege of talking with Shawn's widow and brother. Even in their most challenging time, they keep thinking of others. In the earliest hours, they shared their concern for other bus operators and for Metro. And when Metro employees and police officers captured the subject, the Yim family didn't just express their thanks. They offered their further appreciation for the Metro employees who helped in the effort. They also noted that these folks could have been on vacation with their families, and instead, they were serving the public. Just think about that. In the hardest days of their lives, the hardest holiday, they were worried about Metro. Let me be perfectly clear. This tragedy should have never happened. It is not fair. It is not just. I hear and I see your hurt, your anger. I have my own. And I see your concern for your family and for your colleagues. I am not a bus operator, but I have known deep personal loss. And I know what it looks like to look for answers and to find none. I also know that it makes a really big difference who stands with you, not just in the days after, but in the years after. And so I promise that I will do everything I can to help keep you safe. I know that everything we have done so far is not enough. We must do more. We will do more. I stand with you. Metro stands with you. I'm speaking both to our Metro employees and about your riders. I haven't met a single Metro operator who doesn't lead with the care and concern for your riders. So my steadfast pledge has two parts. First, we are taking immediate action to help keep you safe. That's why we're hiring more police officers and security officers. We're increasing our physical protection from larger and stronger safety partitions all the way to separate operator compartments. And second, we need broader safety solutions that are far beyond transit. I want to thank each of you for calling a regional task force for public safety and its implications on transit. It's an incredibly important conversation, and Metro is honored to be a part of it. I pledge to work with each of you and to provide access to any resource we can to help further the discussion. Because everyone in this room and everyone in the Metro system knows that the problems we face don't always start on the bus. I know that transit employees across the organization are doing everything they can, and this isn't just about transit. We need everyone at the table to solve the challenges that we face, and there are many. From addiction to mental health to security and so many more. The truth is that when our neighborhoods are safe, our buses are safe. Community safety is transit safety. So we all need to be working together, trusting each other, and fully dedicating ourselves to the safety of every transit employee and every transit rider. I want to close by thanking everyone who came here today. From across our country, our state, and our county, thank you for your support of King County Metro. But now, I want to speak directly to my Metro colleagues, to our beloved Metro. We are here because of Shawn Yim and his love for his riders, his colleagues, and his family. Shawn was so proud of Metro. I am so proud of Metro. I am thankful to be part of an organization of 5,000 good people who are working tirelessly every day and doing remarkably good work for the people of King County every day. It is so good and so needed to have moments to be in community with one another. Especially today, I take strength for being part of this really unique and really wonderful tapestry. We're united in knowing how important transit is and how important all of you are. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for being here, for being together, to standing up for transit, and especially for a colleague that was taken from us far too soon. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Michelle. So I would like to call our next speaker to the podium. She is the Transit Riders Union General Secretary, Katie Wilson.
Hello. As transit riders, today we stand with all of you and with the family of Shawn Yim in grief and solidarity. We stand with our transit operators, with all of our union brothers and sisters and siblings in ATU 587. What happened to Shawn should not have happened. No one should lose their life at work. No one should be assaulted at work. To all of the transit operators here today, we appreciate you. You are the people who get us where we need to go. You, like Shawn, have chosen careers of public service. You deserve to be safe and secure on the job. I don't even like driving. I can only imagine how stressful it is to try to drive a bus while also monitoring what is going on behind you. Driving a bus while trying to break up a fight, or deciding what to do about a passenger who is having a mental health crisis, or a passenger who is doing drugs. Let alone driving a bus while someone is directing their anger at you. You have an incredibly hard job, and I have witnessed so many drivers navigate those challenges with skill, grace, and compassion. So thank you for your service. But also, your job should not be this hard. We need to do better. Our members ride public transit every day, and many of us depend on it. I personally ride buses and trains almost every day, often with my young child. I I love our public transit system. I believe that public transit is the future. We can't keep adding cars to the road. We have to keep expanding transit. We must encourage more people to become transit operators and mechanics, and we must invite more people onto transit as riders. But for that to work, public transit jobs have to be good jobs, and that means they have to be safe jobs. And our transit system has to be safe, comfortable, and accessible for riders too. We need to do better. We need to do better in memory of Shawn, and we need to do better for all of us. Part of what makes public transit great is that it's part of our public space. The unexpected and sometimes magical interactions that you can have with your fellow passengers and with drivers. But this is also what makes public transit a challenging space, especially today. Our collective failure to create a society where everyone has the support they need shows up here. And as riders and operators, we are all on the front lines. We don't have all the answers, but we at the Transit Riders Union are committed to working with all of you, with our transit operators, with ATU 587, our transit agencies, and our elected officials to make our public transit system safe for all. Rest in peace, Shawn Yim.
Thank you, Katie, for that speech. That was very nice. I would like to welcome our next guest to the podium, Streetcar Operations and Maintenance Supervisor, Paul Margolis.
Hello, everybody. I'm here to read a poem, but I also have to take the moment to recognize a couple of things. First of all, it warms my heart to see so many people out here wearing your vests, wearing your uniforms. I'd like to thank John Costa. Your anger is real, brother, and we appreciate it. We see it. I've seen a lot of anger. I've seen a lot of emotions this past few weeks, and I want to validate and recognize how everyone is feeling out there. A lot of anger, a lot of fear, a lot of tears, a lot of hugs. If anyone needs a hug, I'm always here for you. This week, my feeling particularly was that of just a real sense of despair. And when I was trying to figure out how I was going to conduct myself here, I didn't even know how I could compose words. I was in such a state of despair. This morning when I was riding the buses here in the procession, it was a different feeling that I've never experienced before. It was like a collective feeling of getting punched in the stomach. And there was other people on our bus that were like, I'm feeling really seasick and nauseous. I think we were all feeling the same thing collectively. But it warms my heart to see you, just as it warmed my heart to see people out there holding signs that say we love our operators. I drove by one particular man who was weeping uncontrollably on the sidewalk, a rider, a pedestrian, a passenger. I knew Shawn. I'm an operator. They introduced me as a supervisor because I'm acting as a supervisor, but I'm an operator. And I have been here for 22 years. When we are done today, I'm going to go drive a train. When I met Shawn, I was a supervisor at the window at Atlantic Base. I sat today with his classmates over there. They were all brand new. It was 2015. I was brand new at the window also. And he comes up to the window, and at Atlantic Base, that's the base where we operate the trolleys, and he was terrified, just like all the other new operators. It was a time period where we were hiring a tremendous amount of people, and we were super short on operators, we were super short on supervisors. There was no training staff, so a lot of the kind of follow-up training of operators got put on the window person. And I remember Shawn Yim coming up to the window just terrified, but also really eager to just learn it all. And he was hungry for overtime. And it was a particular time at Metro where we had so few drivers that we had 30, 40 full runs at the window open every day. And I had a pretty good skill at chopping up the work and giving it to operators who were hungry. And Shawn was one of my 12 operators who I would take their work from them, and I would put it into like all of the open pieces, and I'd slice them all up, and I would give Shawn and these other 11 operators this completely new day made up of like 14, 15 hours of work, and they loved it. And he called me the Ginsu. And every time I saw him, he would say, "The Ginsu!" And just look at this smile. He was one of my favorite human beings here. I just really wanted to highlight what a wonderful person it was to work with him, because I would come into the base and this beautiful soul every single day would just be there. And he was just always full of laughter and joy. And sure, even the best of us who are full of laughter and joy still complain and commiserate also. But he was just such a beautiful soul. And I want to point out two things before I read my poem. One is that Nathan Voss was not able to make it today. For those of you that know Nathan is an operator who also knew Shawn Yim very well. He's really sorry he couldn't make it here today. He wanted to be here, and I encourage you all to go to his blog and read his post if you have not done so already about Shawn Yim. It's very touching. There's also an interview from KUOW. And I want to also point out today, these are the things that I will always remember, just like when Mitch Spencer and Lucinda Watson and Neil Goldengay and Missiker Yilma, those are Shawn's classmates. Every time they go to the pick, there will be an absence from now on. Today, the transfer of the day is S's in Shawn with a black border. But for me, the most painful moments for me will be the day that Shawn died. The transfer was J's and John with the black border. I will never forget that. And every time I see Coach 7011 drive down the street in the future, whenever it's released, I will never forget that either. I'd also like to just thank one more thing. I know that this has been a pretty political day, and I have one political thing to say. I really, really, really want to highlight the importance of something that Michelle Allison said, that all this talk about barriers and security is excellent and amazing, but I will not feel safe until we have taken care of this sick city. This poem is called Fear. It is by Khalil Gibran. It is said that before entering the sea, a river trembles with fear. She looks back at the path she has traveled, from the peaks of the mountains, the long, winding road crossing forests and villages. And in front of her, she sees an ocean so vast that to enter there seems nothing more than to disappear forever. But there is no other way. The river cannot go back. Nobody can go back. To go back is impossible in existence. The river needs to take the risk of entering the ocean, because only then will fear disappear. Because that's where the river will know it's not about disappearing into the ocean, but of becoming the ocean. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul, for that poem and your speech. Thank you. Next up will be our ATU Local 587 Financial Secretary, Paul Neal.
Good afternoon, everybody. The sign says, please speak loudly if possible, so I'll try to do that. I want to thank everybody who's come here from all over Canada and the United States to be here with us today. The financial secretary does a lot of the background stuff. And there were a whole bunch of people who made this whole thing possible in a very short amount of time. And I just wanted to give a shout out to all those who helped out, but particularly our core memorial committee, Esther Hankerson, Lisa Nault, and Janet Novotny. I told them they were the Get Shit Done committee, and they did it. Now I'll get on with all these special words. On December 8th, 1998, the ATU family gathered to mourn Mark McLaughlin, who was murdered in the line of duty by a passenger. Many of those that were there that day are here today, along with so many others, to mourn Shawn Yim, who was murdered in the line of duty by a passenger. Who was Shawn Yim? He was a member of our union family. Who was working at 3 o'clock in the morning to support his family. I'm sure his plan for December 18th, 2024 was pretty much like the rest of us. Go to work, do your job, and go home safely, safe and sound to your family. That didn't happen. And now Shawn's family will have an empty chair at the table. On December 21st, the longest, darkest night of the year, we held a candlelight vigil for Shawn and held our lights up against the darkness. This murder did not happen out of the blue. In speaking with members in the past few weeks, the majority have shared the story of their own assaults, of being spit on, punched, choked, stabbed, and they have been re-traumatized by Shawn's murder. The security situation in public transit has deteriorated markedly in the last few years, just as it's done in society in general. Transit does not exist in a bubble. If there are problems in a neighborhood it is going through, those problems get on the transit. The question now is, what are all of us going to do to prevent future violence, not just for ATU members, but everyone on public transit. Our union family and riders demand action, and action now, to make everyone safe. Whether it be on a bus, train, transit center, train station, or even their local bus stop. Security barriers and police are desperately needed, but that is not enough. Mental health treatment, drug treatment, and more housing are part of the solution. This morning, I went out and greeted many old friends who were here. Some retired, some still working. And I asked several of them the same two questions. It was pretty horrifying, some of the answer I got from some. I asked them, how long did you drive? And they give me whatever the number was. And then I asked them, were you assaulted? And several of them said, of course. And some said several times. So I'm going to ask everybody who's been a transit worker or is a transit worker here or wherever, I don't care what classification you are, I want you to raise your hand if you've been assaulted in the line of duty. Raise your hands. So for those of you who want data points, there you go. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul, for your speech. Thank you. I would like to welcome to the podium our Vice President of ATU Local 587, Ken Price.
Good morning, everyone. Many of the folks here today worked here for 20, 30, 40 years. Yes, we do become family. We are honest, hardworking, caring, and that is why we're here today to honor a husband, a family member, a friend, our transit brother that experienced a senseless murder. That tragedy has brought each of you here today for your own special moment. Make it yours. Only a place where love runs deep. As we have learned and heard today, Shawn had an energy that was untouchable. Our special time here today is your moment. I ask you to keep that energy Shawn shared with so many. Do not let any reckless hands inside. Do not allow that storm. Let others spin in their own storms. Those whirlwinds do not belong to you. You are moving to a rhythm only love understands, a calm so fierce. You have earned it, every bit of it. Shawn worked overtime. He worked through the pandemic. His dedicated loyalty. He was the one that started that email chain, as you heard, between classmates, and he followed through. He wanted to make sure he could give back and others share that laughter and joy. And he has, by multiple accounts of co-workers, brought that joy and laughter. We have transit workers from here and across the country, Canada, and it's our chance to reflect, celebrate, continue our lives, see, hear, and feel Shawn's energy, continue to come to work, bring a positive spin, a vibe that Shawn's days were from school. We have college classmates, co-workers that we need to share. The public memorial, let us stand, or let us share the words and let actions ring out. We have learned, heard, experienced, cry if you need to. This is your special notice, your feelings, and the fear that our brother experienced. No person should experience at any time coming to work. Please, hear it here today, move it forward. I want to share a special moment every professional transit operator feels. Workers that found millions, and we have experienced millions and millions of times, picking up passengers, sharing conversations, delivering to home, school, work, doctor's appointments. Yep, we did that. We did not stop through the pandemic. Now we're calling on each and every one of our brothers and sisters to continue to strive to be professional, survive, moving people who count on us to and from. This is our special moment. Every professional transit operator feels from the beginning of transit history since the horse-drawn carriages delivered people. It goes back, folks. I am going to, with honor, pride, and sorrow, to all Shawn, past, current, future transit operators across this city, state, country. I'm going to say, who moves this city? I want everyone to say, we move this city. I want to do that 3 times. Who moves this city? We move this city. Who moves this city? We move this city. Who moves this city? We move this city. As I close, this is my attempt to share my last respects of Shawn Yim. Please walk out of here today as Shawn always led, a quiet leader. Shine today, share with others.
All right, thank you, Ken, for that speech. Now I would like to present our final radio call presented from the Metro's Transit First Line Supervisor, Alan Spanning.
Welcome, everybody. Please.
Operator 21882. Operator 21882. Operator 21882. Out of service.
All right, folks, so before our closing, we're gonna have a recessional from the Northwest Firefighters, Pipes and Drums. They'll be doing Amazing Grace. All right. In closing, I would like to make some acknowledgments, but before I do that, I just want to say, I've heard a lot about operator safety. What can we do to make our job safer for the operator? Safety isn't just about getting a barrier. It's not just about enclosing us in. Safety is also about management not disciplining operators for being assaulted, for not issuing punitive discipline for assaults. That is where it starts. We need their support out there. Without their support, we're sitting ducks. People know that. The passengers know that. If they know that we're supported, we will, I know that safety will be first and foremost for us. I know that we will get our resolve. The people will know when we have an issue, the police are going to take you off the bus. I started driving a bus 23 years ago. When I started, if I had a problem, all I had to do was call it in, and they would come. Stop where you are, not take the bus downtown with the assailant, not take it over here, not let them stay on the bus on your layover. It was, safety was first. We need to get that back. And until we get that back, nothing is going to work. We need to get that back. So in closing, I just want to say safety is the most passionate thing for me as a union officer. I was elected because people know that I don't bite my tongue. I don't. People know that when I say something, I mean it. We are taking safety seriously. This ends. This ends now. 26 years we've been waiting for safety since Mark McLaughlin, and nothing. We're going to get something done now. So in closing, I would like to, unfortunately, our ATU Canadian International President, John Danino, he wasn't present on the stage, but John Danino, if you can raise your hand so everyone can see. There you go. Thank you, John, for showing up. I appreciate that. And I would also like to thank all of our agencies from across Western Washington, from Canada, and across the United States, folks that came in to support and show solidarity. I would also like to thank all of our Metro Transit operators for showing up and showing your solidarity today. I'll also like to thank Metro's management for showing their solidarity being here today. Everyone else from the city councils. I would also like to thank our international for being here and their show of solidarity with us today. And I just want to offer that we are all in this together, and if we remain solid as one unit, solidarity is what that is. We will overcome this. We all want to go home the same way we left, alive. We should not have to be at a memorial service for another fallen operator. So